Okay, I'll give a chance if everybody can read that to kind of grasp that, and at the same time do a little quiz. How many people are here because they love outcomes? Raise your hand. Okay, and how many people are here because they are being forced or are being nudged towards using outcomes by their institution? Okay. Well, the reason I brought this slide up, I'm a data guy. I do like data, but I'm also a philosopher, so I'm kind of in the middle as far as all of this way that education is moving, as far as the pendulum going towards common assessments and outcomes and data-driven everything. But although this is funny, what I want to do is make sure you understand that I want to take a positive approach on it. What outcomes can do for you, your school, your students, everyone, hopefully, that is involved at your university or college. So, question. If you want to know if you did a good job at something, what do you need to know first?
Definitions of job. What was expected of success?
I love this. I'm getting good feedback already. What was the job? Right? I need to know what I'm doing. And so the outcomes, and you can think, I like goals too, but the outcomes are fine, of the course should be driving the content and the assessments delivered. As simple as that. You have a curriculum committee. Their job is to put together what this course is about, what this program is about, and the way that at least we work is backwards. This is what these students are supposed to be leaving with, and so how do we build a course that will make sure that they are leaving with those skills? And the only way to do that and be sure of it is to do some type of measurement, and so that's why outcomes are important. Simplicity. All right, I just skipped to my next slide already. So again, the only way that you can figure out if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're giving the students the skills that they need is if you collect data. All right, so who benefits from all this data collection? Well, it's everybody at the institution. If you start from the top, the reason I got involved in outcomes so early, about 4 years ago, and have been a pain to a certain extent in Canvas's rear end about making sure that they work perfectly, is we went through SACS accreditation 3.5 years ago, and one of the things they asked us was, how are you sure that your online courses are meeting the same standards as your face-to-face courses? If you're in the SACS region, that's coming on your next accreditation meeting. Now, that wasn't our biggest hit. We had a bunch of other little bungles that wound us up on probation, but we knew that we needed to start really dealing with this. So obviously your accreditation body is important for collecting this data. But also your program and your curriculum review, obviously. Just making sure, again, that your programs are delivering what they're supposed to by collecting and putting together the data and the reports that come along with that. I also teach, and from an instructional standpoint, I find that it's really important to know, am I covering the things that I think are important, the goals, the outcomes, adequately? And I can only know that if I have some way of assessing that myself, so that I can then look back and see if maybe I need to do some adjustment in the way that I'm teaching the course, the content, the assessments, and so forth. On what outcomes are my students doing poorly? Is it my fault because of the assessment or the lack of content? Or maybe is the outcome something that I need to bring to curriculum and say this really isn't a focus of this course? So where do I need to be focusing my efforts, my time and efforts as an instructor? And then students, from their perspective, what do they need to work on? So everybody involved can benefit from the collection of outcomes. So how do you do it? There's 3 basic steps. Obviously, the first thing is you have to set up how you're going to collect the outcomes. And as simple as that might sound, because of the sub-account structure that Canvas has, it is really crucial to have a game plan when you're doing this. You don't want to stick all your outcomes on your root account, right? Because when then you go pull the data, you're going to be pulling hundreds of thousands of pieces or artifacts that you're then going to have to sort through. So making sure you're putting your outcomes at the right sub-account level that is going to be appropriate is one of the first things you want to do. Second thing, obviously enough, you have to tie it to assessment to get data, either through rubrics or question banks, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. And then you can pull the data, and there's a variety of ways to do it. You can use Canvas's own reporting feature, or you can build your own, or you can pay them to build something that works for you, because everybody's got slightly different needs about how they want to see this data as it comes out. So we'll start with the first one. Oh boy, can't really see that very well, and I apologize. This is my basic root account and the sub-account structure within it. So obviously, if I put all the outcomes at Florida Southwestern State College, it makes a mess. If I know that there are particular outcomes that go with, we have, for instance, a first-year experience class where students learn study skills and so forth, then obviously I want to build the outcome structure and any rubrics that I want to use tied to that in that area so that when I pull the outcomes, I'm only pulling ones that are associated with that. Does that make sense? So having a strategy about how you put this together and nest your sub-accounts. And by the way, you can move your sub-accounts around. So even if you haven't done this yet and you already have a structure, you might want to rethink it if you're really going to get deep into outcomes. Next thing is to add outcomes. One of the first things that I learned, and unfortunately it was unavoidable, is that some people like to have outcomes in the masses. I had one course professor that had like 37 outcomes. And so this can get to be a mess. Luckily, Canvas, and I can't remember, I've been with Canvas now, I guess, or using it for about 6 years, but I think it's 2 or 3 years ago, they gave the ability to put these in folders. Take advantage of that, it really cleans things up. So make a course folder or a program folder and put your outcomes just in an organized fashion so that you can easily get to them. I hope I'm not going at too low a level, but it really can make a difference, trust me, if you just all of a sudden see all these outcomes from everywhere and you need to try to build something from it.
The instructors can't push them up themselves to the sub-account level.
Only if they have administrative access. So what I do is work with all of our deans have a very limited sub-account access, or their program coordinators. So I work with them to work on the structure, how they want. But typically, to be honest, our team builds they tell us what they want, and we build it out for them because it's just, we're only going to do it once, so it's not really worth teaching them to do it. Hopefully, we're only going to do it once. Of course, outcomes change, people change their curriculum and whatnot, but we typically do it from our side on our online department. All right, so basically, you have two choices when it's coming to aligning outcomes. You can align them with your rubrics, or you can align them with test banks. The way you'll know as you're doing this whether or not it is working is if you see the little flag next to the item in the rubric. That means that that outcome is aligned, and information, when this rubric is used, gets passed back up to the sub-account. This is another point where you have to make a decision, usually with the faculty, the lead faculty, or maybe with the whole group of faculty, because you have a choice with outcomes of whether or not you want to use them for scoring for the students or simply as a data collection mechanism for yourself and your institution. Now, my personal philosophy is if these are the outcomes that you're supposed to be measuring because they're what's in the syllabus, they probably should be graded, right? That should be part of what the students are assessed on, but obviously you have the choice. The next thing is obviously how you set up the scoring so that it works both for your students so that you're grading in the way that you want to, but also for your institutional effectiveness people. Because they all wanted 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, if you can use that for grading, what are you giving? 180, a 60, you don't get a lot of flexibility. So by doing this and setting up it in a way that is appropriate for grading to where the instructor feels like they're giving an appropriate grade is also important. On the other side, the only way to, right now at least, to tie an outcome to a test is by creating a question bank. So you go to quizzes and test banks and you can create a question bank, and you'll see on the right side it says add or align outcome. And that's where you would click. It'll bring up all of the outcomes from your sub-account and you plop it in there. I would suggest that you come up with a strategy, at least for right now, and this again is a personal thing, of not mixing the two. And you can probably think of why. If I have this outcome being scored at 20, 17, and so forth, and that's being scored on a test, it probably is going to be scored 5 points or 3 points or whatever, and then that data just gets really messy. Does that make sense? So just a tip. I'm not going to go through the links. These are just Canvas's links to how to do it. So I didn't want to spend time on that. I wanted to stay more higher order. Pulling the data. If you go to the sub-account where you put the outcomes, you go to settings and then reports, you'll have a variety of these. It might not look the same for you as this. It depends on what your customer service manager has basically enabled for you. The one in the middle with the red arrow is the one that comes with Canvas. You may have already seen it or probably have if you came today. However, there may be reasons for creating other types of reporting features. Right now, the one in the middle, all you can search by and get data from is from one term. Obviously, sometimes you might want to do longitudinal studies where you're looking at multiple terms. So I've been working with Canvas and continue to do so on trying to increase their querying capacity so that I can pick up multiple terms, I could pick up just particular course reference numbers or the like and get just the artifacts that I want. The bottom one, called Scantron Quiz, came about because we have ground courses and online courses. And we don't have enough labs for everybody to go take their test or their common assessment in the ground course. So for common assessments, we got Canvas to set this up, because if you've ever pulled a test from Canvas, you notice you get the student's answer. You don't get the A, B, C, D, E. What this did for us was create the first possible answer is A, the second is B, the third is C, the fourth is D, the fifth is E, and then it gives us what the student chooses. I then work with institutional research to take the Scantron data and that data, merge it together to be able to get the reports that we need. By the way, I am just like a lot of you, I'm always willing to share. If somebody wants this thing, we paid for it 3 years ago. No one's going to care if I share it with you. But we had Canvas built it. We don't have the programming staff to do that kind of stuff. Any questions so far? Make sure I'm not talking too much. The next thing, obviously, is what do you do with all this stuff? All right, so you pulled all these artifacts down. You got to sort them out. You get them to where you have the data that you need for the particular course or the program. Then the idea is to make this useful for your institution. And this is our first year experience course. They use a lot of outcome and a lot of outcome data. They're using rubrics for basically every student journal as the students are going through the course. And they've been tracking aspects, and these are, in a sense, sub-outcomes. They're all involving critical thinking, but the idea is they wanted to even go a little bit deeper. How clear was the student when they're writing? How accurate, how relevant, and so forth. So creating these nice reports are wonderful to send out to show how you're doing. They had a goal of getting so high as far as on the scale. They didn't do as well the first semester or the first year. I don't remember which one it was on here, but then they did better going forward. So that's the idea, right? You take a look at this data and you say, well, what can we do to make this work better? What needs to be improved? This is for, and I apologize again, it's a bit fuzzy. This is for a common assessment that we have for all of our college algebra classes. What happens is, if you look at it, it's the percentage that got correct and the bottom are outcomes, and they're labeled by letters. Don't worry much about that. The big thing is, can you see what you could quickly use from this once you put it together? Yeah, I mean, so you can't probably see it, but they got 90% on it. So do we need to worry much about that particular outcome? No, we're doing good there, but we have some that are in the 60% level. So that informs the faculty to look at how is that outcome being covered. Is it being covered enough? Is it being assessed correctly? Are the questions that are worded poorly? Take a look then at the course to see how they can make that improve for that common final so that hopefully everybody is doing better on the outcomes as they go forward. Make sense? And then imagine almost everybody probably has seen the Learning Mastery Gradebook. And this is where we can do stuff in real time. We're not waiting necessarily to after the semester's over to figure out what we did wrong or what we could have done better. We're seeing right away how are the students performing based on the outcomes. The green shows that they are meeting it, the yellow shows that they're close, and the red shows they're not, or they're not even close. Now, at first, this was set up to where it was their highest score on that outcome. You can change it, and we typically use their average score. I think in the K-12 environment, they typically just want to see them hit that mark at least once. Whereas for our environment, we have more of an attitude that we want to see at the end of the semester where their average was above it. But you have some ways to play with how you're looking at this and then go and say, right now, what do I need to do to improve and get my students to where they need to be? And of course, the students can see the same type of thing. They need to work on a particular outcome. So that's where the conversation can be had real time to get hopefully a student over a hump. All right, some final thoughts and then I'll take some questions. I wanted to make sure I left some time. Help nudge Canvas to get the information that we need. Canvas still has work to do. Outcomes was one of the parts of their legacy code. Basically, when they first wrote this 6 years ago, it was written in and really has not been refactored like they've done for everything else since then, which is why some things don't work really well and it's slightly clunky at times. So talk to your customer service manager, especially if you want to use this, and tell them what you need, so that we can maybe move this along a little bit. Because I know it's becoming a bigger thing, and that way you get in the conversation about what you need to see outcomes do for you. 2, don't assume that your faculty or your administrators have any idea of what this can do or how it will work. It's going to take meetings, multiple meetings, right? Because there's going to be a lot of them that don't want to do it at all. Right? They're being told by their dean, the VPAA, that they have to. So it's not always a fun beginning, but you can hopefully try to get them excited about it through some of the ways I'm talking about, that it can help them improve. We're not trying to dictate, well, sometimes we are if we're doing common assessments, but we're trying to help make the course better. So they're going to need help, and I really suggest kind of coming up with training materials for them to take back with them as well to get them on board with this whole process. For instance, with the rubrics, we had 100 sections using the same course, the exact same course, that had 7 journals that were using the same rubric. Well, some faculty were not clicking on the little boxes in the rubric. They just decided they wanted to make up their own score in the right-hand side, which means I got all these weird numbers that weren't part of what I should be seeing. And so I had to go back and talk to the faculty, and believe it or not, our VPAA told the faculty to go back into the course and rescore every single one of them by clicking on the box. Do you think they were happy about that? No. So make sure they know. You have to click on the box. You can then adjust the score at the top. You can say minus 20 for being late, whatever you want to do. Or I'm actually giving you a couple extra points because I thought it didn't fit right in between there because they don't think it fits between the second one and the third one. And so I wanted to give you the middle points. Don't do it there. Click on the box, please. So it's just stuff like that. And then finally, share. I am more than happy to, one, share this presentation with you. I'm more than happy to share anything that we've come up with and learned through the years of doing this. And the more that we all do that, obviously, the more information and the better we get at providing this information to our institutions. And the quicker it goes for us, the ones that often have to be in the middle of getting it all set up and ready to go. I think that is it. Questions? Sir?
Yeah, it seems like outcomes are tied to so many other areas of the college, like program review, curriculum, and it seems like maybe we should, instead of sort of trying to fine-tune the outcomes functionality from Canvas, try to understand kind of it in a larger context, so that you don't have to duplicate things in your curriculum management system in Canvas and then have it push out to your program review in some weird copy or another. So I'm wondering if that idea of pushing Canvas to sort of advance this and have it more functional, have it more meaningful and user-friendly and all that, but also have the conversation where it's going to connect up with these other parts of the college in a way that ties it all together.
Absolutely. The question is for the camera. There's so many parts, moving parts in this mix. You know, we have program outcomes, we have course outcomes. Some people are using things like live text and other types of outcome type reporting software. So whether the question is, what should we be pushing Canvas as this being an important part of their system and what they're providing, or should we be tying in to some other vendor to do it? I like the idea of them fixing it because I don't want to have and be dependent upon another type of software. And if we have one type that we can use, then everybody's on the same page. Whereas we've had that where somebody's using live text, somebody's using one other type of software, and it just makes it confusing to have to train people on all these different formats. The other thing is that there's, to a certain extent, hopefully a simple fix that they're going to do. You'll probably have noticed that with just about everything in Canvas, it's a URL, right? Which makes it wonderful, right? It's easy to just link to anything, right? And that's what makes it wonderful. Outcomes don't do that, and that's part of the issue. So if they could have every outcome as its unique URL, it would make things a lot easier. That's just my aside. I got to put my 2 cents in the back.
Yeah, I noticed that in your rubrics you had a 5-point scale, and when we set up our outcomes, it defaults to 3 blocks. Do you have like an API or something that lets other work to 5-point ranking?
No, what I do, question. Do we have an API that sets everything up for us? No, we unfortunately, we don't have the programming capacity to do that. We do it manually. You'll notice, for instance, with the rubric that had the 2018, 16 or whatever, I get that data and I do a find and replace and change 20 to 4 and 17 to 3 and then send it to, yeah. And we don't really worry about that baseline that's in the outcome itself, because once you're doing whatever you're doing with the data at the end, you can decide whether or not it met the baseline or not. So we do a lot of it from the back end. I do a lot of it from the back. Yes, sir.
It's pushing a couple, 3 years ago to get a lot of that functionality down to course level too.
Correct.
I don't know if you ever and they were going to do it, and then they didn't. And if you can also.
I don't, yeah, and the question is, a couple of years ago, they were looking at moving that down to a course level. What happens is because that their legacy code for outcomes is so dated, they realized that they would have to do a whole refactoring of the outcomes to do a lot of the stuff that we're all talking about. So that's why I said I'm trying to nudge that refactoring process to happen faster. Please don't think I'm bashing Canvas. We were the 10th one to adopt, and we love the system. It's just the outcomes we still need a little more help with.
There'd be a lot more flexibility if the instructors could do it, not just the person at the silicon level.
They can from their own account level. They can create their own outcomes, but then you're not gathering the data from a sub-account level. So they can't make the tie back is what you're asking. And you're correct. Yes, sir.
Just trying to get a sense of best practice. In my department, outcomes are captured across, say, multiple questions on a homework.
Sure.
And so what I think I'm hearing is probably the best practice is to create individual rubrics for each question, and then outside of Canvas, roll up that data to figure out whether or not the main course objectives have been met.
Correct. And the question is whether or not you're building it basically internally or at a higher level, right? Yes, I highly recommend as much as you can, if you're using something that's common, build it at the sub-account level. It's very easy to move it down. And then any courses that later get moved into that sub-account that you copy a course over to, it will maintain that relationship with that outcomes. And so go from semester to semester, you'll be able to gather all of that data at the sub-account level and then do what you need to do without having to dig through each particular course, which for us would just be overwhelming and impossible.
If your assessments were attached to multiple aspects of your assignment, so if I have an assessment that is, this student understands how to use SQL, and that's tracked across multiple chunks of an assignment, I would have individual rubrics for each one of those assessing that particular outcome.
Yeah, we have one professor that's created like 75 rubrics, and each one has the different outcomes that he wants to rate along with other things that are specific to those questions. We try to go in the middle between there and get a little bit more common. What the focus is that I always try to have them focus is on what is the highest order or level outcome that assignment is focused on, and maybe limit it to just putting that outcome into the rubric. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it's same with the question banks. You only can put one. So pick the highest level outcome that's being assessed is probably a best practice. I appreciate it. The door's open, so I have to get out of here. Thank you.